What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to Two Car Guys Podcast. I'm John. This is Adam. We're actually in the same room talking about Ferrari.
Finally, right? So we're finally
yes.
back together, finally on the same, in the same state
Let's go.
on the same channel.
Yes, sir.
Same room, I guess, right?
Same place. No bar.
No bar.
We're just hanging out.
Yeah.
Two guys talking about cars.
So we are talking about Ferrari today.
Yes.
As everybody's probably already seen, we've already got some YouTubers out there that have been talking about the new Ferrari.
Yeah.
Okay, so the exciting thing is we got two parts of the Holy Trinity, the Hypercar Holy Trinity.
Almost there.
I'm good with that.
Hey, we're almost there.
Right?
Let's see what the third part looks like.
Okay. So real quick.
Yes.
On our last review, when we talked about the W1, you and I were a little bit worried that the third leg of the Hypercar Holy Trinity was going to be all electric. So I will tell you, the news we've heard recently is probably more positive.
Yeah.
That it'll be an internal combustion engine, because Porsche is working on a alternative fuel that could be, groundbreaking, and I think that they're leaning into that.
Well, there's a lot of things they're talking about. So, do we know? Are we in the room now?
We don't know, but I've got my fingers crossed. I think one of the biggest things that people have talked to me about, and I think you and I talked about at the end of the last episode, was if it is all electric, does it count, right?
Right.
And I'm hoping we don't have to worry about that.
Well, the big thing was when you talk about the Holy Trinity, are we just doing a nod to the cars of before, or are we truly just going in and saying, okay, Porsche's electric now, peace, homie. You're not invited to the party anymore.
I think it's peace, homie. You're not invited to the party anymore. So
I think it's a solid nod, no matter what they bring. I think it's gonna be super cool. But at the end of the day, man, the Holy Trinity is coming.
It is. Okay, so the first one to drop was W1.
Yes, sir.
If you haven't seen the video, go watch it.
Yep.
It was great. We got a good chance to talk about it.
Yeah.
John is obviously a McLaren fanboy. He's wearing his McLaren shirt today.
Let's go.
I will tell you, I do like the look of the new W1. I know it's a little bit controversial. I know it looks a little bit like a Rimac. I know you don't like the doors.
Yes.
Right?
I don't like the doors as much. I mean, honestly,
I love it. I love it. I think the car is super cool. I think it has a lot of really cool technology. Right. I'm a fan.
Okay, but if W1 was parked here and the P1 was parked here, which one are you driving on?
The W1, because no one else has it, and I'd be the only one with
whatever, man.
And I'd have 1,271 horsepower.
Anyways.
Okay. All right.
Anyways, looks alone.
I still like the look of it. And we don't know how it looks in person.
Right. We haven't seen it in person. We've seen P1s in person.
You've said before that when you originally saw the P1, you didn't love it as much. And when you saw it in person, you loved it more. So maybe this is the same case, right?
Same thing. Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So that was part one. Part two, and we dropped some little hints about this in the last episode.
Right.
But part two is the Ferrari LaFerrari replacement.
Yes.
So here's the deal. The LaFerrari is probably one of the best Ferraris I've ever seen looks-wise.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the name, right? But you called it the Ferrari.
Yeah. Well, the Ferrari.
Right.
That's what LaFerrari really is.
But yeah. I will say it's probably one of the best-looking Ferraris I've ever seen. Now, something you don't know, you haven't seen, and I can post some pictures. I actually got to see the prototypes for the LaFerrari.
Okay.
They were at Mecum Auto Auction in Car Week last year.
Okay.
So I got to see some of the prototypes that then became the LaFerrari.
That's super cool.
Which was pretty cool.
That's super cool.
Right?
Yeah.
And you can see kind of a little bit of the F40 and some other cars in there as they kind of evolved
it, yeah.
Yeah. But the LaFerrari, I think, is probably one of the best looking cars, especially out of the Hypercar Holy Trinity.
Yeah.
And one of my favorites, obviously,
absolutely.
of all the Ferraris.
It's out of the Holy Trinity, I'd say it's the prettiest car.
Yeah.
Right. Hands down, I think it's one of the best looking cars.
Yeah.
The McLaren's just the most raw to me. I think that's why I draw it the most.
Definitely.
And then the 918 it's in a class of its own. And at the time when it came out, the 918 wasn't nearly as popular as the other two.
No. No, and to be fair, the Ferrari, the McLaren is the most rare of it, which is kind of crazy because I've seen more of those than any of the other ones, right?
Same, yeah.
Well, because there's only 918 of the 918s, right? But there's only like 600 of the McLaren P1s.
Right, and there was some controversy too about Ferrari building more LaFerraris than they actually said they were going to.
Well, because they built the Ferrari and then they turned around and came out with the
Alberta,
Laferrari, which is the.
How do you pronounce that? I'll let you post it in the comments.
By the way, there's another video where he tries to pronounce names of fancy cars.
Did a wonderful job, I think.
Just then was really good.
Maybe not.
Yeah. So the Laferrari was the Spider version, if you will, or convertible version of the LaFerrari, and that was a whole other run.
Yeah, another run of them.
Yeah.
So, and I bet they do the same thing with this car. So
it's really funny because we've already got people that are saying, if you don't like the way this car looks, just wait till and they're going to do a convertible version of it.
Absolutely.
So we say all that to say that the bar that was set by the LaFerrari is high.
It's high.
Really high.
Yeah.
It's a gorgeous car. It's super fast. You've got the Kerr system in it, which is basically grabbing. It's regenerative braking, but you're essentially grabbing unused energy and putting it back into the engine, which is, unreal, right? It's straight out of Formula 1.
It was ahead of its time. I mean,
very much so.
So fast forward to now.
Yes. So now we drop the F80.
F80.
And it celebrates Ferrari's 80 years.
Okay.
Right?
I thought it was just a nod to the F40. I didn't think about the 80 years.
Nope. It celebrates Ferrari's 80 years.
That's pretty cool.
Because you went from the 40 to the 50 to the 60.
Yeah.
And then the LaFerrari and now the 80.
I got you.
Right? So
cool.
Let's talk about the good. Let's start with the good stuff, right?
Okay.
The good stuff is we are still working with hybrid motor, right? It's different than the hybrid system that we saw in the LaFerrari.
Yes.
You're getting over 1,200 horsepower in total between the internal combustion motor and the hybrid motor, right?
Yeah.
They built an entirely new chassis around the car.
It's not a lipstick.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's a complete change, complete rebuild.
Yep. We got lots of aero trickery on the car, right?
To
keep it pounded into the ground and everything. And not to mention the fact, isn't it all-wheel drive? I think it's got electric motors on all four wheels.
The way that when they released it, they said it was like an electric assist up front, and then they did another like middle assist for the two rear that's going to be in between the engine and the trans or something like that.
So this is going to help that car to accelerate faster to 60 than the W1.
Right.
But ultimately, it's not going to have the same top speed or acceleration to that top speed that the W1 will have, right? Because that W1 is just going to be a rocket ship. I mean, that thing's just going to take off and keep going.
Yeah, and this is going to be the same.
Yeah,
you can bet money this car is not going to be slow.
No.
Yeah.
So all that being said, the crazy part about both the W1 and the F80, they're all sold out.
Correct.
Which is bad. I know you wanted to get one.
I had my name on a list. I don't think that's the list, but I had my name on a list.
Can you believe that we're in a time and place where that is just before the car just got announced?
Well, okay, so we haven't even got into the bad.
I'm saving that for a minute from now.
Fine. Yes, we're at a point where people are buying these cars before we even hear about them,
and they're sold out,
and they're completely sold out. And it was funny because I saw something. There's a guy I follow on, I want to say YouTube, and he posted something, and it's like a trophy that they sent to all the guys that were getting it. And he posted that like 3 weeks ago.
But everybody's doing that now, right? So like when I don't know if I'm sure a lot of people who watch our channel have also seen Shmi 150.
Right.
When he got the allocation for the Mustang GTD, they gave him like a titanium poker chip. Right.
Yeah.
And that was kind of his.
You got the car.
Yeah, you got the car.
And I think they mailed it to their number one customers, right? And they were like, you have the option to get this thing.
Right.
And I'm guessing McLaren did the same thing, Ferrari did the same thing, and you had to have already had an established relationship.
Let's be honest, you and I weren't going to fight over this thing anyway, right?
No.
Word on the street, W1 is $2 million and change. this is the F80
Right.
is supposed to be $3 million and change, right? Starting at.
The prices on these cars, though, are on such a higher level from like the 918 and all the other cars.
So it was funny, and you and I talked about this
we talked about it
before,
on the last
Apex,
episode.
right?
Yeah.
Apex was talking about, like, Bugatti was in that, and they were talking about how they were the first company to basically ask $1 million for a car. And now we talk about $1 million cars like it's nothing.
And this is the thing: the amount of supercars that are out now compared to 10 years ago, is so vastly different. Like, I mean, basically, a Huracan could be the Camry of supercars at this point.
So I don't want to drag us down a hole, but let me ask you one quick question and ask everybody who's listening: do you feel like Audi's involvement, VW's involvement in Lamborghini has diluted the supercar marketplace because the availability of supercars is so much more because they basically churned them out?
I don't think so.
No?
And I say that because the price point's still there.
I don't disagree, but
I mean?
you and I were talking just earlier today about paying $150,000 for a used Corvette.
Yeah, well, and that's these numbers just don't make sense anymore.
No,
they don't make sense anymore.
But that's my point, right? So let's take the numbers away from it. Let's talk about the sheer number of vehicles that are in the marketplace.
Right.
I mean, I feel like ever since VW stepped in the marketplace, that there are more Porsches, there are more Lamborghinis.
There's no doubt in that fact.
More R8s.
There is no doubt in that fact. I mean, there is definitely more supercars now than there was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And they're making them at another level where rare is not like, you used to say, okay, that manufacturer made 3,000 cars a year.
Yeah.
Now that manufacturer is making 3,000 cars a month.
And I feel like we have
that's pretty crazy.
There's more access to them. When you and I were younger, we didn't see this many supercars, right?
No, it's much different than than when we were younger. I think it was much more special to see a supercar.
I agree.
And it's getting to a point where some supercars, like for instance, like a Maserati, is getting more normal.
Well, I feel like now it's much more special to see a hypercar.
Yes.
Or like when we went to the Festival of Speed, right? The exciting cars there were the Valkyrie, the Gamera.
Anything dubbed crazy.
Yes.
I mean, anything dubbed crazy. But that's the part about the supercar that was always crazy to us as kids, because that was that unobtainium, right? It was that thing you couldn't get. And it's like, now that thing's kind of obtainable, which is amazing because we're car guys. We're happy about this. I am happy to be able to have the opportunity to own some of these crazy cars. But back then I thought a supercar was just something that was, Mustang was maybe, highest I could go at the time, Now
we've had this conversation before,
but we can get down a rabbit hole.
No, I remember being in my 20s thinking that if I ever had a payment of over $400 a month on a car, it would be insane.
Dude, it's funny. When I bought the Viper, I said, I will never pay more than this for a car. I paid $42,000 for that car. The Aston was triple that.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. So, okay, let's get on to the other half of this conversation.
Right.
So the bar is set really high.
Yes.
LaFerrari is probably one of the best looking super hypercars that are out there easily, right?
Yeah.
Ferrari then drops, and here's the thing, right? Between the P1 and the W1, what do we get?
There was another car.
We got the Elva.
Yeah.
We got the Speedtail.
Right.
We got the Senna.
Yeah.
Right? So you get the Elva, the Speedtail, and the Senna. Those don't count.
Right.
Right?
Well, that wasn't their Hyper Series.
Correct.
That wasn't their Hyper Series. That was their Super Series.
Yep.
So McLaren was cool about one thing. Even their base car, the 570 or whatever it is now, or the GT, has the crazy doors and all that stuff. And if you don't know, that's not their supercar. That's their sports car. And they call it their sports series.
Right.
Same thing with like the Senna and all that stuff. That was considered their super series.
Yep.
And this is their hyper series. And
so you had all these amazing cars, right? And the Senna was arguably lighter, faster, and crazier on the track.
Yep.
Right. And
it just didn't get the hybrid powertrain.
Correct. Yep. But then you had the hybrid powertrain in the Speedtail.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
I literally thought it was just the aero that made the Speedtail faster.
No, and actually one of the cool things about the Speedtail that we don't talk about enough is it charges wirelessly.
Yes.
It's got a puck
That
you
is
drive over
did know
top
that.
of it.
I did know that
Yeah.
because it was at a dealer
Yeah.
one time, and they had this big pad under it and parked on top
Yeah.
of it. It's a neat concept.
So you've got all these cars that
Yeah.
came in between that and the W1, right?
Right.
We kind of forget about them because you think about the P1 and the W1, right? Here we are with the LaFerrari, and we're all on pins and needles waiting for the successor to the LaFerrari,
Yes.
which ends up being the Ferrari F80.
Yes.
But in the meantime,
they've come out with some crazy stuff.
We had an SP3 Daytona,
Yeah,
which I've seen a few times
I've
in
never seen
person.
it in person. Yeah.
It is an amazing vehicle.
Yeah.
Probably one of the most beautiful Ferraris. I would say the most beautiful Ferrari I've ever seen.
But it kind of showed what direction they were going, because they kind of went back to like a, what was the old Ferrari.
It did. It showed some
stuff,
homage to older Ferraris. Kind of took some older styling cues, right? However, now we come out with the F80, right? I can tell you right off the bat, I'm not a fan of the styling of it. Now again, hear me out. It very well could be one of those cars that when I see it in person,
totally different car. Yeah, exactly.
Right. So far, all I've seen is a couple videos, and I saw obviously the pictures and stuff that Ferrari put out.
Right.
But I will tell you right now, I feel like the LaFerrari had so much more aggressive lines on it, and it seemed to have so much better flow to the car. Even the aero on the LaFerrari seemed to be more elegant.
Well, it made the car look like it was a spaceship.
Yeah.
I mean, it gave it more of a spaceship, where this doesn't have that.
No.
Doesn't have that look. And again, we're looking at pictures. I haven't seen it in person. I'm sure we'll watch a ton of YouTube videos on this. But the big part to me, the trickery they did with the arrow is pretty cool. If they paint the eyebrow, that's what I'm gonna call it. What else do you call that?
I don't know. The mustache.
The mustache or the eyebrow. If they just paint that piece color match, maybe I'd like that.
So what's interesting is that's become a big theme. If you look at the 296, right? The 296 has that on the front.
Yeah.
And they took a little bit of that. It almost looks like a SF90.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
They've got that little black band in the front. I'm not a fan.
I'm not a fan. And I'll say that ever since they come out with the front engine car, the Parasangue, is that how you say it?
That's the SUV.
That is the SUV. Okay. The car before that, the
would be the A12 Superfast.
No, it was
or the F12.
Again, so
TDF.
I'm not a huge Ferrari fan, so please don't kill me in the comments on this. But
I will say I really like Ferrari history and the brand.
I mean,
if you look, I
love the racing. I think the furthest I go as far as Ferrari would probably be like the 488 and get into the Pista and things like that. But as far as knowing the brand to a point that I know every single one of their cars, like I do McLaren and other brands, I don't know them like that.
I'm a huge fan of the Pista. I think the Pista is probably one of my favorite cars. I'd rather have a 458 Speciale.
Absolutely.
Just because I like the last NA car.
But even the 488, like the Pista.
Yeah.
Well, I need to watch that video. But that car is gorgeous to me.
Oh no,
it's absolutely gorgeous.
If you guys watch the video where I went to Car Week, one of the cars I honed in on was the 488 Pista.
Yes,
it was
absolutely
beautiful, red with the blue stripe on it. Absolutely gorgeous car. I feel like, and I feel like they missed the mark on this one.
I did too.
It just doesn't feel. It doesn't feel like it levels up, it's a true successor to the LaFerrari. And to me, that's a much more beautiful car. The Daytona is a way more beautiful car than that is.
I agree. But I don't know. We got to see it in person.
So here's the
Ferrari. Invite us out to see it in person, guys.
Yeah. So
come on, let us know.
So here's the other thing, and this is just a rumor that I've heard, and I'd love for somebody to confirm it or deny it or what have you. But we're getting into a marketplace where there are people that obviously can afford to go to Ferrari and to Aston and to Lamborghini and to McLaren and ask to have a bespoke car built for them.
Yes.
And the rumor that we had heard, and again, it's a rumor, love for you to tell us we're wrong, The rumor that we'd heard is that some of those guys that had ordered these bespoke cars had basically communicated to Ferrari and said, listen, don't put anything into production that's going to rival the shock value of my car.
Do you really think that Ferrari would listen to that?
Kind of.
And it's a tough situation because, like, all right, you have these
you've got a guy
number
who
one
consistently
customers.
spends millions of dollars with you, and he's a billionaire, then maybe.
Yeah, to an extent, but at the same time, it's like you've got to start the next tier of whatever, or you're just stagnant.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that this has to be the next tier of whatever it's going to be. Why would they limit themselves?
I mean, again,
as a rumor, I would hope that's not the truth.
Again, that could just be the conspiracy theory of the week, right?
It could be.
But I will tell you, Ferrari is definitely one of those brands that, when they announced the Parasangue, no one even knew what it looked like.
Yeah.
And
it was sold out.
It sold out.
Yeah.
Completely sold out.
But they have that. I mean, obviously, they've got a very loyal customer base.
Extremely
loyal customer base.
Probably one of the most passionate fan bases I've ever met.
Yes.
And probably one of the coolest fan bases I've ever met too, by the way. Because when I was in Monza, I was there with the Tifosi. Oh my God. They were some of the coolest people you'll ever meet.
Cool.
But I mean, if you look at it, right, it's gonna come down to kind of the same thing that we saw with the original Holy Trinity.
Yes.
These cars look like, performance-wise, they're going to be very, very, very close. The McLaren's not going to get off the line as quick as the Ferrari does, but the McLaren's going to get there faster, in the top speed. However, the Ferrari's probably going to handle better because it's got 4 motors on the wheels, right?
Right, but let's talk about weight. The Ferrari's going to be the big girl in this one.
The Ferrari seems to be heavier, right?
Got to be.
But from what we're hearing, the Ferrari is not going to weigh much more than the W1. But when you're in a game like this, every ounce, every pound counts.
Yeah, and these are the spare no expense for performance cars.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I mean, that's why you don't have adjustable seats, because you don't want the weight of the rails and the motor to move the seat back and forth.
It's funny to me because this car, I mean, it's just a face a mother could love.
Right? I don't know if I'd take it that far, but I will say it's just not my favorite Ferrari.
I had to see it in person, obviously, and again, it's going to have a shock value, right? It's going to have it because it's the sheer amount of money someone's going to pay for this thing. It will have a shock value.
But I will say, again, I wish you'd been able to come out next year. You're definitely going, no excuses, but I wish you'd been able to come out to Car Week with me this year. I was able to see a couple of these in person. And if you see an SP3 Daytona in person, it's just the lines on it, the sheer size of it. That's a V12.
Oh, V12.
Yeah.
Right. So what they put in this thing?
I tried to go the whole episode without talking about that.
Yeah, but we're here.
I know.
So what they put in it?
They put in a 6-cylinder.
Why?
Because it's the championship winning car that won Le Mans.
You know what? Hold on, wait. Now, I know another brand that chose a 6-cylinder over a V8, and we talked about that.
Did it win the Le Mans?
It doesn't matter what it won. The question is, how did that car do long term?
Sorry, did it when they detuned it? Did it win Le Mans?
Singular. It's a V6.
Which car?
The Plymouth Prowler.
Oh my God, we just talked about that earlier. Oh, I don't think that should be allowed to be in the same sentence.
You're telling me a car this big, they couldn't stick a V12 in it there?
They could have.
What's Ferrari's best engine ever made?
The V12. And that's why they put it in the Parasangue.
Sounding engine?
That's why they put it in the Parasangue.
But this is their hypercar.
It is, but they're using their hypercar technology.
Look, man.
Okay, so here's the thing. I just to go on record, I agree with John, right? I agree with John. I knew I was wrong 5 minutes ago, but at this point, I'm just working to pitch it off. No, to go on record, I do agree. I do agree with John. The truth of the matter is, let me defend Ferrari for a minute.
Okay, fine. I know.
So let me defend Ferrari for a minute. One of my favorite cars of all time, is the new Ford GT. I love the way it looks in person. I love the features of the car. I
Right.
love some of the quirks of the car. It's one of my. I've seen them a few times in person. I absolutely love
It's
it.
cool, man. It's a cool car. I agree.
The biggest complaint everybody has about that car is that Ford didn't put one of the V8s in there.
Right.
Right. That car won Le Mans. Right.
Okay.
And the argument that I heard multiple people, including Jay Leno, who I think knows maybe a thing or two about cars, right,
Say one or two things.
was that
What's up, Jay?
at the time this was the right tool for the job, right?
Okay.
They were trying to build the lightest car. They were trying to build the car that had the most power, and they were trying to do it and prove a point at the same time, and they did, right?
Okay, perfect. Yeah.
Right. So
Agreed.
fast forward. Now you're talking about Ferrari. Ferrari just built one of the coolest Le Mans winning hypercars. What do you call those cars?
The LMP1
LMP cars,
LMP1 cars,
right?
yeah, stuff like that.
Ever made.
Yeah.
And it goes out and wins Le Mans with only 600 horsepower.
Correct.
Half of what this thing has.
Correct.
And they tune this thing up and give it 1,200 and change.
Cool. I mean, cool.
I
dude.
get it's coming out of
I
a
get
six.
it. I
right?
get it, man.
I get it.
I get it. But as a car guy, and look, that's oil in these veins. You know what I mean? Like, come on. This thing should have had a V12 in it.
No, I agree with you. It should have had a V12 in it. I agree that that's kind of the thing, right? So like when you think about the Lamborghini Hypercars status, whatever we want to call them, right? The Aventador, the Revuelto, right? 12-cylinder motors.
12 cylinders, and it sounds glorious. It looks glorious. It does it all. See,
Yeah.
And to me, it's I guess there's certain things that, okay, whatever cylinder's in it, cool, right? I got you. It's about that sound. It's about that feeling. It's just different. And car guys understand that.
Let me ask you a question.
Normal people.
Let me ask you a question. If they didn't tell you it had a 6 in it, and you got in it, and it had that same feeling, would you be okay with it?
No. I'm just saying, man. Don't lie to me. Just tell me the truth. You know, it's like dating a supermodel and come to find out she's just not great.
I mean, okay.
You know what I mean?
Maybe I'd be willing to be okay with that. I don't know. I look again. Like I said before, I agree with John. I think they should have put a 12 in it. I don't really think it makes any sense to have that car and not have a 12-cylinder engine in it, especially when that is your flagship hypercar to replace the Holy Trinity.
So it's a rebodied Maserati MC20.
Don't even start with me.
You know that's what it is.
Don't even start
with electric assist.
Oh my God!
And that's a good-looking car. They did well, right?
They did great. Nice. What's the resale value on those things?
Exactly. Buy that hypercar for $4 million, and in 8 months,
It'll
we'll buy it for $800,000.
I hate to break it to you. The one thing Ferrari knows how to do well is maintain value. Yeah. If you look at the 4 or 5.8s, the sticker on those like $250. Here we are 12, 14 years later, and they're selling for $260, $280 if it's a Spider.
And yeah, we also had some weird pandemic stuff going on that threw the prices out of whack, and they're still settling.
Yeah.
They're still settling.
Well, that's because the new prices of the new Ferraris are so high.
Yeah.
It's not putting pressure on the used market.
And that may lead to our next episode. They released the Porsche, and they jumped the price $20,000.
Released
the new 911.
Yeah, but they didn't really. I'm worried. We're talking about the hypercar here, man. Stay focused.
Sorry, squirrel. Squirrel in the form of a Porsche.
Yeah, we're talking about the hypercar here. Okay, so let's.
It's a cool car. It's a cool car.
Let's wrap up the episode. Okay.
Shut it down.
Here's the deal.
That's it. We're logging.
We've got the new Ferrari. Right. We have 2 legs of the Hypercar Holy Trinity.
Yes.
Right.
So we got a stool.
We got a 2-legged stool.
2 legs at the moment. Yeah. We're waiting on one more.
We're waiting on one more.
And Porsche might be.
Hold on a second. I have recently appointed you head of Porsche. Okay. Right. you have 3 things that the new Porsche Hypercar has to have. What are they?
It's going to be a big motor.
It's never had a big motor before.
Okay. All right. It's going to be.
I mean,
Obviously, it's going to be.
What was in the 918?
The
Was it a
918 was
V8?
hybrid. It was a V8. No,
Okay.
It was V. Oh. Yes. Was it a V10?
It could have been. We'll have to look it up.
Oh my god.
Hey, I feel really embarrassed
like
that we don't know that. But you know what? The 918 was never the the one that I knew all the details about.
What engine was in the 918? It was a V8.
V8. I knew it.
Yeah. What liter? 4.6. Anyways, same thing that came in that Mustang you had back in '99.
But it wasn't flat plane.
Yeah. Whatever.
All right. So here's the deal. So you want a big engine. So let's say V10.
Absolutely.
All right. So not a 6-cylinder.
No.
Hybrid.
I mean, look, it's a Porsche. Porsche can get away with it. I don't know why they can, but they can.
I mean, Porsche.
They've been doing it for years.
Porsche's been throwing 6-cylinders and 911s and getting 700 horsepower.
Like, Porsche's probably the only one that would get away with it. No problem.
Yeah, and I do quite like the sound of a 911. Yeah. 6.
But that 4-liter V8.
Yep.
Keep the V8, man.
Okay. So 4-liter V8. There's first wish. V8. Second wish.
Second. Oh, I get wishes.
Yeah. Well, second requirement.
Okay, so it needs to be a numbered car. 9 something. Right.
Okay. So
now we're up to the 920. Right?
So you want to limit it.
Limit it.
Yep.
Yeah. Limit it by production number like they did before. Obviously, I want it to be a track monster because that's what these cars are supposed to be. That was the whole point.
You only get 3. So that's your third one. You want to be a track monster. You don't care how it looks. You don't care if it's
gorgeous.
You don't care if it's hybrid.
Obviously, I don't care if it's hybrid. You care if it's hybrid. I prefer it to be an NA V8 or V12 screaming down the track.
Yeah, I don't.
But we're not getting that anymore. Thank you, EPA. We appreciate you.
See, okay, look,
we're going down.
There is oil in those veins, right? I get it. But I will say that there is a lot of benefit to having no turbo lag, to having essentially,
Look, I understand the performance benefits of a hybrid powertrain, and in a hypercar, that's fine. At this point, it's spare no money, right?
Right.
It's spare no money, so it doesn't matter what it costs to maintain it. So that guy that has to maintain it, good for you.
So the Mission X, which is their concept car that was going to be all electric, that was going to be a track monster.
Yeah.
We think it'll look something
in that vicinity.
In that vicinity, right?
But
is that a good looking car to you?
Yeah.
You like that?
It's pretty cool.
I like it.
I dig it.
I think it's cool.
We'll see what we get. I guess we'll let you know if the Holy Trinity becomes a full stool.
Yeah. So hey, I think it's an exciting time to be a car guy because there are so many cool cars that are coming out right now. I think a lot of it is benefit of technology.
Absolutely.
Right.
The technology these days is just bar none.
Yeah.
It's unreal. And what they're doing with these 6-cylinders is crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, the performance they're getting from those was never heard of years ago. And
no, but you work at APR. You've seen what they can do with 6-cylinders and 4-cylinders.
Yes.
Right.
And don't get me wrong. There's plenty of performance left on the table. But the question is, where are they getting some of this performance? It's the hybrid drive at this point.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, so how much assist do you want before you just go full electric? Because it's going to be faster 0-60. If they can lighten the battery, they can lighten the other stuff. At that point, we're at a performance impasse where the sound doesn't matter and the soul of the car is literally ripped away. So we get an electric thing that does crazy donuts, aka your other favorite electric car.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that.
You know what I'm talking about?
I do know. I just for anybody who's interested, I bought a remote control car that does like 30, 40 miles an hour, and it's awesome, and it'll do donuts if you pull the accelerator.
It's cool, but it's like a one-trick wonder.
Right? It's you know what? It's a toy that I like playing with that toy.
And this is dragging on, but if you could give up the sound of a V12,
nope.
Hear me out. If you could give up the sound of a V12 for a tire shredding monster,
no.
Exactly. I'm with you right there.
You know what? And I've listen, we're going to drag this out. So the one complaint I have about my daily is the positives are it's fun to drive,
Right.
handles well.
Perfect.
Even you said today that the touch points inside are just, it's a nice
It's
place to
comfortable.
be,
Nice place to be.
right?
Yeah.
It doesn't sound exciting.
No. But it's maybe there's certain times where you don't want that. For
Mm.
instance, a long road trip. Do you want something that's buzzing in the back of your head? on a
No,
long
but
road trip?
if I get on the throttle, I'd like it to make a noise.
Well, then we put an intake on it. And
I
problem
got that
solved.
part of it. I already told you I wanted to do that. Okay. So, all right, we know this has been a longer episode, but thank you guys so much for listening. Hopefully, we do get to see the Porsche leg of this stool.
Yes.
But tell us what you think. Are we way off
Absolutely.
base here? You know,
Yeah.
and do you love the new Ferrari? And which one do you like better? Do you like the W1 better so far? Do you like the new Ferrari better so far? You tell me. So
I guess we'll see.
We'll see.
And on that note, if you made it this far, thank you so much. If you listen to us ramble like that for a 38-minute video, thank you. I really appreciate you. And hit that button. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.
Bye.